Thank you for watching the Black News Network, where we bring... Welcome to the Black News Network.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Brother War Smith Bay coming at you live on the Black News Network, BNN 247, this March 4th, 2024. I want to thank you for being viewers today. And we do have a compact, great show in store for you. We are the real voice of Black USA, broadcasting the news from a Black perspective. This Sunday, we're going to talk about mental health crisis. Many of us have experienced it. We denied it, but now it is time for us to bring this to the forefront and let our people know that over 7.7 million Americans suffer from these mental ailments. What I'm going to do today, along with my co-host, is go through as many as we can based on the time that we have. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome my co-host, Mr. Claude Foster, and say thank you for joining us today on the Black News Network. First of all, Mr. Foster, can you give us your perspective on the mental health crisis here in America, as well as an introduction of yourself?
Well, Good afternoon, Brother Bay. It's always good to be on the program talking about issues that really matter to Black folks and that don't get the kind of voice that they need to get on a regular basis. So we need a dose of this more than once a week, but once a week is what we got, so we're going to give it our best shot. Uh, I'm from Alabama, and anytime you talk about health, it covers racial. There's a racial element to everything that we talk about. We know about I grew up knowing about the Tuskegee experiments, and we know mental health is a problem because we know in Black schools, Black kids are less likely to receive mental health. They're more likely to get disciplinary type actions rather than any kind of mental assistance. We know that only 2% of psychiatrists are Black. We just don't trust white folks because of the history in this country of racism that exists to this day. I tell people all the time, sometimes just because a person is a liberal or says he's your friend, I think about Dr. King and the knife. If somebody sticks a knife in you and pull it halfway out and call it progress, it ain't really progress. A person don't have to try to lynch you from the tree that and doesn't feel that you are an inferior person. And that's one of our problems. Sometimes our friends are our enemies. And when we look at all these institutions and our so-called friends, they're also our enemies because they don't believe that we are equal. They just don't believe, because so you can be against hanging and still don't see you as an equal person. Mm-hmm. And that's what we have in this country. And I think it's in the medical profession, it's in the psychiatric profession, it's in the professional profession. So until we deal with that racial component, I don't think that Black folks will ever get the medical or the psychiatric help that we need.
You're absolutely right. I mean, you touched on some very, very significant factors about what's happening in our country with the mental health crisis. I'd like to go all the way back, just like you being from the South, the state of Mississippi. The medical services and the trauma that we have had to endure is not gone. It is still with us, and it is so deep that I would say it's on a genetic level in our people, Black people, that is. Our ancestors endured so much stress and so much neglect from services that they need. They couldn't go to the doctor while they were slaves. They had to come up with their own remedies to every single thing that we experience today. These diseases that we have today are not new. These mental issues that we have today are not new. They existed hundreds of years ago. And because of that, our ancestors endured without any level of mental help. When that happens, that creates some type of phobia within the mentality structure of individuals. And it's so prevalent that it is now part of our DNA. And there is no way America can sit back and think that us being descendants of slaves can come out and be just as normal as any other American around here and act like ain't nothing happening. And the moment we bring it up, they got something to say about it that we need to put it to bed and put it to sleep. But that ain't gonna happen because of like me and you.
And when we got medical attention, we were experimented on. We were used as guinea pigs. And so that distrust, I mean, when you look at drug abuse, when you look at alcoholism, when you look at all the escape mechanisms in our community, that's a direct result of mental defect, mental issues that have never been addressed. I was talking to my wife about this. She's, like in Black schools, in white schools, there's one counselor for every 200 and some kids. In Black schools, there's one counselor for over 500 and some kids. So in Black schools, in Black settings, you tend to have a disciplinary approach. In white settings, you tend to have a more caring approach, a more centralized approach where kids are not automatically sent to disciplinary route versus getting them, providing them with some kind of assistance. So it's across the board. And you know, when I deal with doctors, I bring up the racial component because I want them to know that I know in their mind, even if they're not thinking it, that I'm not 100% human, that I don't have the same virtue. My body is not as valuable as that white person's body. I let them know that. Mm-hmm. I put that on the table up front. Mm-hmm. And believe it or not, that determines how I believe the level of treatment and the quality of the treatment that I receive. And I think that's one of the problems that we have in this country is that we're not willing, as victims of this, we're not willing to put it on the table. I mean, it's easy to go out there and protest the right to vote, and that's important. It's easy to march with our allies and stuff, with Black Lives Matter, which is mostly a white person's movement. It's easy to go out there and be a part of that. But when we're dealing with issues of mental health, that gets to the bare roots of inequality in this country and how Black folks are viewed and by the most liberal of those that we align ourselves with. Mm-hmm. It ain't the people with the vitriol that we got to watch. It's the people that say that they are our friends, the doctors, the people that we depend on.
Mm-hmm. That's supposed to be maintaining.
Right. That don't believe that we have the same value. Mm-hmm. And our movement, our civil rights movement, because we're so aligned with the liberal element of society, we never address that. We never talk about that.
You know, we're right where I want to be with this conversation too, Clark. I have this question I've been dying to ask you. What is the purpose of the NAACP?
Well, now you're getting deep. Because when you look at, when you look at the history of America, who was the guy at Tuskegee? Wasn't that the founder of Tuskegee? Who was it? My mind is blank.
I don't remember.
W.B. Du Bois. When you look at him, when you look at the names, when you look at the leaders of the past, and you look at their supporters, the white liberals that founded these organizations, these were the people, like a white person founded Morehouse. All these people founded these institutions because why? Because these white liberals did not believe that we were equal.
And they go to their universities?
No, they used the Black people, the Black leadership of that time period to implement a dual system in this country. And made us focus on political and civil rights instead of rights that
human rights
that address our humanity. Mm-hmm. And you look at their backgrounds. I mean, W.B. Du Bois, light-skinned, lived in the northern part of the country. When you look at what was the great abolitionist?
Black or white?
Black.
Harriet Tubman?
No.
In what area?
No, the great abolitionist. There was only one. There was only one each. It was W.B. Du Bois. It was
Marcus Garvey.
The white abolitionist, and then it was the guy over Tuskegee Institute, and that's where the names. Mm-hmm. These three folks were influenced by people that saw Black people. They wasn't trying to destroy Black people or hang us from a tree, but they didn't believe that we was equal either. Mm-hmm. And they used these gentlemen to create a dual system in our society. Mm-hmm. And that dual system still impacts us to this day.
Mm-hmm. You said something. You said something a few weeks ago on one of our shows.
W.E.B. Du Bois was the other one. I mean, not W.B. Du Bois.
Mm.
What? Go ahead. I'll think of the names.
Okay, you said something a few weeks ago about how our four leaders around the Martin Luther King, the Malcolm X, the Medgar Evers, around that arena, when they were leading the Black culture here in America, that we as a culture, we gave up human rights. We gave up our human rights for, like he said, political, social, these type of rights. And the
I'll give you a good example of what I mean. The Urban
Mhm.
League, just they was created about that time back in the day too, when black folks were told to go north,
Mhm.
and the Urban League was created to help black folks get resettled in the north. Told them how to act, don't be spitting on the sidewalk, all this kind of nonsense,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Because they wanted to show white folks that we
And
had
we
some
can
kind of humanity, right?
we can
All
be sophisticated.
these institutes to this day, when the Urban League, they just put out their report, their annual report, right?
Mhm.
We're compared. Who are we compared to? We're compared to whites.
Mhm.
We're not Hispanics. Done passed us.
Mhm.
Asians done passed us. Every other group has pretty much passed us when it comes to
And they recognize though.
no. They listen to what I'm saying. They passed us because they're not focused on trying to get. They're not being measured against whites.
Mhm.
They don't have that history. They don't come here being measured against white folks. They come
Mhm.
here to take advantage of what America has to offer.
Mhm.
We're measured against white folks. White folks
Mhm.
are that whole equality index measures us against white folks,
Right.
not no other group.
Mhm.
And while we're being measured against white folks, every other group is passing us
Mhm.
in economics, in home ownership, in education level,
Mhm.
every category.
Mhm. That's a beautiful analysis, Claude. I
Well,
like
we're
that.
being measured against white folks, and
Um,
white folks set this up with our liberal leadership back in the day. It wasn't the Southerners. When W.B. Du Bois went to the college in Nashville, I can't think of the name of it. He fell out with that college professor because that college professor was a Southern guy who saw things a little bit differently than W.B. Du Bois. Our
Mhm.
leaders who created our organizations got their education, their thought process, and their thinking from white liberals of that time.
Mhm. Mhm.
And they overlaid that on the black community.
Mhm.
And we've
And
been burdened by that ever since.
it has not letting up. Like you said, we are still practicing that indoctrination
That
that we
duality.
hundreds
We,
of years.
we,
It
you
has
got
not
black folks that go to
disintegrated.
Morehouse think that
Mhm.
they're more that somehow they're better blacks than the blacks that go to Jackson State. Both systems were created by white folks because
And
they
it's in
didn't
our head. It's there.
right. We
Mhm.
think that, so we even uh 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 what's the college there in Washington D.C. that
Howard University,
Howard University is better than Texas Southern
then
University,
Dillon University, or
than
something
Dillon
like that.
University. White
Mhm.
folks set that system up,
They put those wedges in between us,
and
in all of it.
we have
I
never
saw.
been able to
Uh,
to get from underneath those wedges.
I mean, we have literally been thrown out there to the wolves and expected to learn how to eat from the same steak as the wolf, and that has it just doesn't manifest for us. I mean,
Well,
they have
here's the thing,
taught us.
but
They
here's the
put,
it
put
ain't the fact that we've been held to the standard of the wolf. But
mhm,
the standard of the wolf got their own system that's not going to allow us to ever compete 100% in it.
mhm,
But other groups that come in don't worry about competing against that system. They create their own systems.
mhm,
The Asians got their own economic system. The Hispanics got their own economic system. We're
mhm.
the only people that are depending on a system that don't value us in the first place.
And
We
it's,
have never
it's
tried to
not our
create.
system. We're finding it so hard, and we're fighting so hard not to go back to our ancestry and become the people that we really are. We
Well,
sit back and we watch these people do what they do on behalf of themselves and say that they're doing it on behalf of us.
well,
We
one
have to
thing.
do it for ourselves.
Well,
We
one
are.
thing is.
Let me just tell you this part. I went to the VA the other day,
Uh-huh.
and on the wall of the VA, it listed the categories of people that they wanted to affect. And do you realize that it said white, Asian, minorities, and LBGTQs? Now, where does the black fit in? I'm sure they put us in minorities, but every single time they call us a minority, that means we are diluted, disappeared, and erased from the history of America. And that's what I needed to
Well,
say about that part.
the new term is BIPOC, Black, Indian, Indigenous, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So BIPOC is the latest term. And it's it ain't like that. We have tried to be a little bit more independent now. To give our history a little bit of credit. When you look at Wall Street, when you look at Birmingham, when you look at Jackson, where black folks empowered themselves and white folks came in, and you look at Oklahoma, and you look at places where black folks did what every other group did. We're the only group that's been directly attacked. So so that history is
that's a good thing, though. You bring us back to the center. You always bringing it up, and which is a good thing now that we are the only group that's out here. But in reality, the Black American, being a descendant from slaves, became the youngest species of human on the planet today, and we have yet to establish ourselves as a world recognized culture. And until we become recognized on a world basis as a black culture, we are invisible. No national or international organization will recognize a black. No national or international organization will recognize African American.
Right.
That is our problem. And until we deal with that basic pink elephant in the room, we are going to continue to be denied our lifestyle. We don't have one, because I look at other cultures doing their cultural things. I mean, the Indians got their war dance. I mean, what we got our damn soul food, which is a bunch of bullshit, shit that kills us every single day. But that is what we strive on. We claim we got the best food, but the best food only makes you fat. And when it makes you fat, it makes you die. I mean,
Right.
They already know the food that they gave us was not the most healthy parts of an animal. But we had to make do with whatever the hell was left over for our people to survive. If we didn't eat chitlins, if we didn't eat ham hocks, if we didn't eat hog maws, we would not be here today, because that is what was left for us to consume. Now that we are an established society with no recognition, we got to come together and form something that puts us on the map, because right now, Black and African American ain't DODO in this country. Now, you have to have a nationality. All the agencies you mentioned have nationalities.
Well, we do have a nationality, and that
What is it?
is more aligned with white America.
What is it?
Why, if it's not aligned with white America, why are all of our why did we create?
See here, that's again.
Now let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. Why did everything that we created is a replica of what we couldn't have?
We're not the same. I mean, you can get the same. You can get the same product now. That's up from over here. You can get a Hewlett Packard printer. Let's say we get a Hewlett Packard printer, but then we can go over here and get a knockoff Hewlett Packard printer. It looks exactly the same, but it's not going to give you the same results. And we're that knockoff of what they are.
Well, we created the knockoff. We
created them.
we created a replica of what we could. We created a replica structure of what we didn't have. We got the same class structure in Black society as white society.
Yeah, true.
We got a hierarchy of skin color. We got hierarchy of different colleges. We created fraternities and sororities. No, I don't think any other group has created a whole society, a replica society.
But when you talking about the fraternities now, each one of the fraternities, and I already know you're a member of one, are separate. Are they? Do you consider them to be equal, or are you joining a particular one because this one was better than that one? Because this one had goals that were a little bit different from this one. What drives an individual to separate their own culture the way we have?
Well, I joined Alpha because when I looked at the history, when I look at what the brothers were actually engaged in, when I look at the agenda, the big focus of Alpha Phi Alpha on the voting program of voteless people and is a hopeless people. Those types of programs, based on my upbringing and where I'm from, appeal to me. It said this is the kind of organization that kind of
others do the same thing, though.
Yeah, I'm just saying. You asked me why did I choose the one I chose? That's, in essence, in a nutshell, the values match my values of what I believed in.
That makes sense.
And some of them are focused more heavily on partying. Some of them are focused heavily on other things. But to me, Alpha men were serious men focused on a serious agenda of uplifting the community. But having said that, all these institutions just separated our people from one from another. It created this class system. Same thing with these colleges and universities, because we replicated the white system. And when we needed unity,
it's a knockoff of the system they use. But, our system is not as valuable as theirs. These people are known by the entire world as the colonizers. The people that run America are the colonizers, which means they will go in and take over any society that they have to deal with.
So why did
caller coming in? I'm going to go ahead and bring him on.
Okay.
Hey, Mr. Chuck, this is Wall Smith Bay with the Black News Network. I'm sitting here with Mr. Foster, and I saw your call. So what's going on with you?
Send me the link. Did the guests show up?
You're live on the air. No.
Man.
No. And I'm going to let you stay on the air, too. I sent you the link already, and I ain't got time right now for all of that. If you ain't got it now, you ain't going to get it today. Because I yet, I'm saying you had plenty of time to let me know that.
Hey, all right. I'll talk to you. Yeah.
All right, my friend. Take care.
All right.
Yeah, I have to talk to him because, that's something that I've done for 20-some years. That's my friend.
Right.
Anyway, moving right along, we were talking about
I'm just saying, Brother Bay, is this whole thing about going back to the South or choosing a state to be the majority of us in, so that we can undo what's been done to us politically. Because all these moves that were done to us were done for political reasons, political and economic reasons.
I'm going to say this, Claude.
And we continue that. We continue that today. When you look at the structure of Black America, it's still the structure that the white man set up.
Malcolm X said it best. We'll still be in hoodwinked because we still think the NAACP is relevant, which, in my opinion now, just my opinion, they ain't about shit, because there is nothing you can tell me that they did in the last 48 months. Can you tell me something?
Well, put it like this. They continue, just like how they use W.B. Du Bois, just like how they use Frederick Douglass.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We forgot all about our topic because we always get into
Well,
this.
because this topic is relevant.
Is relevant? Go ahead.
When you look at mental health, I don't know whether you ever read this, a review of Hoffman's Race, Trace, and Tendencies of the American Negro. Hoffman, this literature that basically dehumanized us.
Yes.
Why do you think they when black women was pregnant, they didn't give them no anesthetic because they think we could bear pain a lot. They experimented on our bodies, man.
Yeah, we know
they
that
still
this
do
is
that
part
today.
of the healthcare. Women went in to see a white doctor, and what's the first thing he does?
Kids
he
are
takes
over.
out their uterus. This has been prevalent over the years. Hundreds of years. Even they're doing it today to these women that are coming across the border. They found an office down there that was taking these women that was coming across the border when Donald Trump was president and taking out their uterus without permission. This is the stuff that these barbaric people do. These colonizers are unbelievable in what they do. But with that, I want to get back to another part of mental health, Claude. I'm going to put up a slide, and I want us to just go ahead and digest it, and let's talk about it while it's up, if you don't mind. I printed out several parts about mental health. So right now, this one is about depression. It's a medical illness that negatively affects how you feel, the way you think, and how you act. So everyone I put up is something that we all have. But go ahead.
Let me ask you a question since you put that up. What is the stressor? What causes that?
Oh, we already know.
What is the stressor that black folks have that caused this?
You tell me I'm accepted, or you shaking my hand, but you at the same time you're putting knives in my back. You're not allowing me to grow. You're not allowing me to exist, because I can show you something that's really
so the stressor is racism, right?
This is why we have the stress right here. Because every time you turn around, we get something going. This is what happens.
So if the stressor is racism, how are we going to talk about mental health without talking about racism?
It's part. You can't separate the two. I agree with you 100%.
If
you
the
cannot
stressor,
separate it.
And so, do you think all black people have this?
Absolutely. There's no exception. Everybody. Okay. Let's go down it, but I want to identify what they are, and then we come back and show how we got there, which we already know. But I want to let people know that these are the illnesses we suffer from, and this is why we're in the current condition we're in. So just a little bit about depression. It's a mental illness that negatively affects how you feel. And some of the symptoms of depression: feeling sad or having depressed moods, loss of interest, pleasure, activity, and enjoyment, change in appetite, weight loss, weight gain. Many of our people are overweight, trouble sleeping or sleeping too much, loss of energy, increased postpositiveness, physical activity. If you have this disorder.
Okay, let me name a couple of more for you.
All right, go ahead.
Angry.
That's part of depression too, yeah.
Worried, anxiousness. Disconnected from reality.
988.
Huh?
I want people to know that they can dial 988 and they will get a mental health specialist online right now to help with the crisis. So what I'm going to do.
Do you think black people have post-traumatic stress disorder from racism?
Absolutely.
So
I call it slave disorder.
Okay, so you think it's slave post? Yeah. So if that's is that any kind? Is that in any kind of medical books? Can you be treated? Can you go to the doctor for that?
No.
Is there an ICD-9 code for that? Will Medicare pay for that? So if that's a reality, how do we seek help?
How do we seek help?
How do I go to a doctor? And if it's a result of slavery and racism and
You
all
can't.
of,
There's no system in place for what you're
so how
claiming.
am I going to be treated? How come
The
as a
only way
child?
you're going to be treated is through self-acknowledgement and going to get the treatment. But many of us, 8 out of 10 of us, don't think anything's wrong.
We can't heal ourselves. You know, the worst thing you can do is physician heal thyself.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm saying, if your child, if my black child, your black child go to school and is dealing with some of these issues, but if ushered off to a disciplinary room instead of counseling, how is that fixing the problem?
It's not. But they don't have, the schools are not set up to fix anything with mental
Black
health.
schools are not set up to fix it. I just
black
told you
schools.
white schools.
Like you said, black schools think the person is a disciplinary problem, and white schools think the person has need mental help when they act out. You're absolutely right about that.
And adults self-medicate. They self-medicate with drugs. They self-medicate with alcohol.
With things that take your mind off the reality of what you actually.
And our society have not, first of all, society haven't acknowledged the mental health that racism has done to us. Generally speaking, society, there ain't no ICD-9 codes for racism.
Mm-mm.
None of the medical books, I don't think have you can't if you was in the military in the 70s, I don't think there's nothing in the military that says you can go claim racism for PTSD.
It ain't nothing there. You know, I experienced
that's a smaller community.
All right, so we have a generalized anxiety disorder. Anxiety in itself is having that hyper operation of your heart rate and your breathing when there's something you're expecting to happen, or something you're about to do, or something you don't want to happen. It's all about the anxiety. Some of the symptoms that you will have for anxiety is one is called social anxiety disorder.
Right.
Feeling restless, wound up, edge on edge, being easily tired, having difficulty concentration. All this describes our children.
Right.
The kids in school that get put in detention over there because they don't know how to sit still, and they don't know how to concentrate, and they're not paying attention. They're irritable. They don't want to do anything. And if you get them to sit down, they got a headache, or they got unexplained injuries. They got to go to the bathroom. They don't control their feelings, so they burst out and they beat somebody up and they get expelled, or they do something that they should not have done. These are the things that really cause our issues. All right, and I want to just pull through these, and then we're going to go back and talk about it. Panic or a panic disorder. Panic disorder frequently and unexplained panic attacks. Panic attacks are sudden periods of intense fear, discomfort, or a sense of losing control. See, many of us have these things and don't really know that this is what it is, that it's been diagnosed, and there's some type of avenue you can take for a cure. Pounding or racing heartbeat, sweating, trembling, tingling, chest pains, impending doom, feeling of being out of control. Now, this one here is social phobia, and I suffer from this one because I will not get on an airplane and I will not touch an earthworm. So that's a specific phobia, an intense fear of types of objects or situations. You know, we all got these little things as Black people that we cannot handle and we won't handle. Can you pronounce this next word, Claude?
Where you at? Agoraphobia.
Agoraphobia.
Agoraphobia. Yeah.
All right. People with agoraphobia have an intense fear of two or more of the following situations: using public transportation, being in open spaces, being in closed spaces, standing in line. I can't stand standing in line because I leave my basket in line because it's a damn line. Being outside of the home alone. Some people don't leave the home. Many people stay right in their homes. So that is the last one I wanted to show you, Claude. And now I just wanted to go back and say which one does not apply to us. Now, they all do. And you know, but that's what we've been talking about for the last hour. We have been damaged. We're damaged goods. And
But
we
those,
can't get
but
fixed
but
unless
mental,
we get up on ourselves and fix ourselves.
but mental health applies across the board. It's not a question of black or whiteness. It's a question of to me it's a question of are we getting the care? Or do we get the medical
No,
attention? Do we
you know
get
the answer.
our care seems to be lock them up and throw away the keys. Over
Yeah.
discipline them,
We have
lock
so
them up.
many mental health issues in jail right now.
Because,
Like,
because how would the drug dealers make money if we didn't have our mental health?
if we didn't need those drugs to
If we didn't need those.
take our mind off
So
reality
it's not a.
where we're living.
It's, as human beings, like I told you, man is capable of some of the most atrocious things.
True.
I mean, man dropped a bomb and killed hundreds of thousands of people. Man made weapons.
Twice.
But man also has the ability to be as kind as he is dangerous.
Not in our lifetime.
Well, but here we go. When I say man is not viewed as being an equal species.
Man in America is white man. We're men, of course, but when we talk about man has the capability of being kind and considerate, we're talking about white people because those elements, those traits exist in us anyway.
If I look at you and say, okay, we're equal,
Mhm.
me and you are equal in every aspect. But if a white person looks at you and says, yeah, we're the same, but because of my whiteness, I'm better than you.
That's what society says. That's the mentality.
No, that's the mentality of white society. And
Us
that's,
too. Some of us like that too.
because
We think white people are better.
Because
the white man's ice is colder than the black man's ice.
But that's the systems that the white man set up. I just told you, W.B. Du Bois and those leaders, they're trainers. They're the people that finance them, the people that finance their ideas and stuff were white liberals who never thought that we were equal. Otherwise, they would have never set up a dual system.
And
They would have not.
the NAACP.
Well,
in 48 months. Have you? Do you know one thing, Claude, that they did?
Well,
in 4 years.
Well, look again. When you look at our experience in life, we tend to associate with things that kind of go with our values. My value is on voting. The NAACP has always been a force for voting.
What are they now?
Well, I'm just saying. I think in some our politics is local. Branches, the NAACP. They set up the NAACP just like the boys and those guys, and the guy that founded Tuskegee Institute and the other person. I wish I could call that name in my mind.
They're not here for us, Claude, and that's where I'm getting at. The NAACP is outplayed and outlived this purpose. It is time for the NAACP to step aside, and the only reason they're still in existence today is because the NAACP is no threat to the federal government because the federal government know that they're not going to do a damn thing.
Well, here again, that's the point I'm trying to get you to understand. That's the structural, that's the racist structural system that keeps us in our place. The white man can't do it, so he set up a system with our folks.
Why can't we get rid of the barriers? Why can't we get rid of the NAACP? Why can't we get rid of the way we look at our elementary schools and high schools that it's disciplinary? Why can't we change that to mental issues instead of disciplinary issues?
Man, I mean, the structure is just so big. I mean, everything national, the National Baptist Convention, the National Newspaper Publishers Association. I mean, the people that set this system up did a marvelous job of setting it up.
Mm-hmm.
And so we operate underneath that system. So our hierarchy is our Black leaders that they put in place.
We have
that structure. So what I'm saying is those institutions, that structure, that's put in place. We all
it ensures that we stay where we are.
Right. That's the buffer.
So you saying get rid of the universities or something? Or what are you saying?
I'm not saying get rid of the universities. I'm saying why is there a need? I guess what I'm saying, if black folks ran a state, right, and was in charge of the education system and the political system and the economic system, why would you need black college? Why can't you just have colleges?
I know. I agree.
I mean, why can't you just have Mississippi?
For a reason. It's separate for a reason.
It's separate for a reason. So our colleges are not even named for black folks.
But why does it start at that college level? Why is our high schools are for everybody? And some of our universities are for specific groups of people.
Let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
Since schools were integrated, how many high schools in this country are named after a black person, are named after Dr. King?
They got every damn boulevard, but no damn high schools.
Because where are the boulevards located?
In the ghetto, in the
black community. In the black community.
Basically, it's telling them where not to go.
There's one school in California named after Dr. King, and it was almost a riot to get it named after him.
Well, they got one in San Antonio too, though.
Named after Dr. King? High school?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What's a high school?
That's where it's an elementary school.
No, I say high school.
I don't know about a high school, but I do know.
You got elementary. We got an MLK. Early childhood.
Elementary schools. Right?
I say high school where everybody got to go. Because white people associate anything black with inferior.
Mm-hmm.
White people are not going to send their kids to no high school named after Dr. King.
Mm-hmm. True.
So
why are we continually putting our children in harm's way in these white folks' schools?
My point is the caretakers of this dual system ain't white folks. It's black folks.
Mm-hmm.
The people that maintain it ain't white people. It's black people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying
you're absolutely right. I agree with you, Claude, but that's always been, we perpetuated our own demise. I mean, and Chuck said all the time, we got that Willie Lynch syndrome that caused us to be more critical of ourselves moving than anything else. So go ahead.
I don't think it's always been that way. I mean, it's been that way since the 1800s. It hasn't always been that way. I mean, the white people behind W.B. Du Bois, the white people behind Frederick Douglass.
After 1960 or 1968, things started to change. When Martin Luther King was assassinated, from that day to this day, we've not established a footprint anywhere since Martin Luther King was assassinated.
Well, but see here again, because we created this, we created this dual society within society. So it's kind of hard to create something different when we like I say, the Urban League doesn't compare us with any other group but whites. Pull up the Urban League's report. Look at the Equality Index.
Mm-hmm.
The people that is comparing us against are white people.
Mm-hmm.
Not Hispanics, not Asians.
We compare ourselves against white people. We never compare ourselves against the Mexicans or the Chinese. We just bitch about them.
No, but I guess what I'm saying is that if nothing has changed since the Urban League been putting out that report, is that equality, that gap has been pretty much remained the same.
So the Urban League must be happy with what the results are
What's
every year.
what's the purpose of the report?
When they put the report out, there's no significant change, so they're doing a good job.
Now, what they put the report out for, they hope that the administration changes its policies and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Because it's just another tool to prove that there's any
hope on our side ain't never gonna happen.
Well, like again, what Martin said, just because I stick the knife in you and pull it out halfway, that's not progress. And so what we have is we have a perpetual status in this society, because white people in their mind are never going to see us as being equal to them. And that manifests.
Well, when did you think that would be different? You didn't, right?
Well, I don't care what white folks think, but as long as they got the power, that means something. That
they
means
broke the power into the Constitution.
But that means those disparities gonna always exist. There's never gonna be a true reckoning with those disparities.
Out of all the people who signed the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution, 2/3 of them owned slaves at the time. Because I did a chronological listing of when did all this stuff happen, and who was when did slavery end, and when did they decide that they were no longer gonna have slaves. So,
but brother, Dave, what I'm saying is, if after 200 years, we're operating with the same racist structure that they set up. What do you expect to change?
Because of Plecker. Do you know? I think his name was Albert Plecker. He wrote the Integration Policy Act or some kind of shit, which made us all a certain type of people, and that made it illegal for us to be individualized. He made it against the law for us to say that we were African Americans or Black. With that, I want to give you a chronological listing of where we were and how we got the names that we have. From 70 AD to 1491, we were Hebrews, descendants of the Moabites and the Canaanites. From 1492 to 1599, Columbus called us Indians. It was another name for it, but I'm saying Indians. From the 1600, which from 1619, as we both know, to 1831, we were slaves. 1832 to 1899, we were Black Indians. From 1900 to 1924, we were Negroes. From 1924 to 1964, that's when Plecker came into the picture, we were colored. He made everybody colored. From 1965 to 1979, we were Blacks. In 1980 to 1998, we were African Americans. And from 1999 to today, we have been classified again as the N-word. I don't even want to say it again. So all of these things have been us separating from our nationality. If the only way we're going to get past what's happening to us now is to go back as far as 1491, when we were Moabites and Canaanites, and track our ancestry till now. And if we're using these white things that go back and find your history, they're not going to tell you the truth. They're going to give you information to make you feel good. And they're going to leave it at that. They're not going to tell you exactly who you are, exactly where you come from. Why is it illegal for the Israelites, for Israel, to run a DNA test? Because, and it's the same here, we can run DNA tests, but we will never know where we're from unless we go down in the basement of the Vatican or go up to the Mormon church in Seattle, in Salt Lake City. Other than that, those are the only two places with the historical records that can put us in the position we're in. We need to be in. Otherwise, we won't get there, because America got it locked down. How come you got 40 senators in the Senate office up there in Washington? You got 40 Republican senators. You got all these things set up for us to stay where we are. And America has accepted it. How can you go to church on Sunday and get out of church and go hang a black man? How can you hang a black man for looking at a white woman or beat a boy to death? When you got a mentality that can put that kind of pressure on a particular culture of people, you got the power. And that's what we're fighting, that power. And until we unseat that power, we're going to continue to have the same issues through my lifetime, your lifetime, my kids' lifetime, and probably the next 3 or 4 generations.
Well, my response to that is, like all of these black institutions, the black church, the colleges and universities that were set up for our behalf, produces 70, 80, 90% of our doctors, of our lawyers, of our whole infrastructure of professionals. So black professionals. So I guess what I'm saying is, will a Howard ever be a Harvard? Will a Jackson State ever be a Mississippi State? Will an Alabama State ever be a University of Alabama?
Will a McDowell ever be a McDonald's? I'm just going to joke in there, right?
Now that one, a McDowell could one day be a McDonald's.
Mm-hmm.
If it had this,
we supported it.
If we supported it, if around the world, because McDonald's ain't just in the United States.
Right.
The federal government supports American businesses. Why do you think we got military bases all over the world? It ain't for defense. It's to protect corporate America.
The last thing I read, Israel was America's base in the Middle East.
Yeah. And so what I'm saying is, I keep going back to the only way to dispel everything that we talk about is for us to create a black state in the South, that we are so that we're not the minority. We don't need, if we're in control of the education system, Jackson State will be just the University of Mississippi at Jackson, get the same funding as the University of Mississippi or Mississippi State. So until we have some kind of model to prove that this system is rigged, and that if we're the majority, that we have the capability of governing ourselves, or governing a state, and making that state that shining star on the hill, white folks are never going to buy into our equality.
You were saying if, and the thing is, those if that you're saying is fact. It ain't a if. It's reality. It's exactly what's happening here.
I mean, are we capable of that? Are we capable of not arguing and destroying each other? Are we?
They do the same thing, but ours is just so obvious because we're so close to it. I mean, they kill greed. Greed kills greed. They're dirty people, and not only have they did what they did to us, they've done it to the Chinese. They've done it to the Africans. They've done it to the Cubans. They've done it all over the world. But most cultures have had the strength to expel these people, but we haven't. And because we haven't expelled them, they are increasing their ability to govern. And they're doing it by creating the laws that benefit them and stifle us. With that, I want to give you the opportunity to close, Claude. Go ahead.
Well, I just, my experiment, and this is just not it. I came up with this idea from a political standpoint, but I found out that people a lot more prominent than me have suggested the same thing. Charles Blow, I would encourage you to get his book called "The Devil You Know." Charles Blow is from Jackson, Mississippi. And he's written quite a bit. He worked for the New York Times and stuff. But that's what he proposes as well. But that was my concept even before I knew about Charles Blow. I just think that we gotta reinstitute a structure that to where we control of that structure from the top to the bottom, meaning the government. That government.
So you don't think Minister Louis Farrakhan got that already set up?
No, I think Minister Farrakhan is. Minister Farrakhan's idea is not based on, and let me get my words right here. I think he just sees a black nation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think, I'm talking about, one thing that people got to understand about our government, we are a federation of states, 50 states. We're a federation. All the power that the government does, all the power is in the states. The federal government has limited power. I'm saying that if we are the largest minority, we are the most.
You go using that word.
Well, we are the most invested in this country. We built this country.
Mm-hmm.
Yet we're not in control of any of those 50 states.
Mm-hmm.
We're 60% of us are in the South today.
Mm-hmm. Let's say this. I want to run with your idea. Let's say we all went to Mississippi and we had a population of 25 million black people in Mississippi. Are we expelling the whites?
No, it don't take 25 million in Mississippi.
I'm just saying, we got that many. What are we doing to white people?
Why would you expel white people?
I'm asking you. That's what I'm asking.
If we're the majority, what do we got to expel? We'll be the governor. We'll be the majority of the legislature.
So when we take over
the Department of Education would be black. I mean, what I'm saying is,
when we take over when we take over the entire state now, and we start to govern, and it becomes the most profitable, the most economical, the most in compliance with people status state, what do you think the rest of the states around us gonna do?
What do you mean? What are they gonna do? What can they do?
I can tell you what they're gonna do.
What they're gonna do?
They're gonna team up and attack us, and we're gonna be at civil war for the next 100 years.
They're not gonna do that, brother. They haven't.
The
states haven't done that.
Don't give a fuck about.
Well, I guess the only way we'll find that out is the only way we'll ever find that out is that if we ever have a majority black state, which we don't have.
I mean,
okay.
Do you question now?
Do you question?
I don't believe you recognize what I showed you a second ago.
Do you question a majority white state?
Huh?
You don't question
the same. See, now you're trying to say we would be the same as them, and we're not. What happened here, Claude? What happened here?
So what would the government do if blacks became the majority in Mississippi? What would the government do?
Put the damn National Guard over them. Look, why did they kill? Look, let's go. If
that's what you believe, so how about the Mississippi National Guard? What would happen?
Same thing. They were under our control. We'd have to fight back. What about I can't even pronounce these Louisiana names. What about Atlanta, 1906?
Okay, but we didn't have control of the states.
But we had control of our community.
Yeah, but what control did we have? We had a community. We didn't have control of it. We didn't have the government. If the government was in Oklahoma, if we had a black government in Tulsa riots wouldn't have occurred.
But we had
a black government. If blacks were the majority in Tennessee,
we had Rosewood. We had St. Bernard Parish in 1868.
But you didn't have a black. You
burned it out, killed all black people, and ran them out of town.
But nowhere did you have a majority black state.
Oh, a majority black state. The state is what they decided. They cut these states into the territories they wanted them to be. So that means we're still following under their doctrine if we say this is our borderline and this is our state.
There's nothing stopping. There is nothing stopping black folks from moving to Mississippi. There ain't nobody at the border saying you can't come
You
in.
think people that moved to Chicago and got acclimated and they got their
I'm
real
not talking about them. I'm talking about the
game
young.
going and got their job
I'm
game
talking
going?
about.
You think
Well,
they're gonna be
not,
like the Mississippi where they got to start over?
I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about younger people that want to start businesses that want a future. I'm saying that there's nothing when you drive into Mississippi, it says "Welcome to Mississippi." There's no sign that says no black folks are allowed.
You don't have to say it. All they got to say, this is a sundowner town or a sundowner state.
There's no more sundown towns.
Yeah, they are. There are white-only towns in America.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
Because the black folks are there. That's all kind of look. 60. Most of America lives east of the Mississippi River.
Mhm.
So west of the Mississippi, there's very little population out there because you can't grow nothing over there. So
There's still a lot of damn people living over there when you can't.
Most of the people on this
and
side,
everything ain't being trucked in, you know.
Brother Bay, I'm saying until we have that test model.
Until we got what?
Until we have a state that we're in control of, that we govern, that we have the majority, that we make the financial decisions, that we make the governmental decisions, that we make the education decisions. Right. And black folks are going to be fair. We're not going to be. Black folks not going to be.
Is there anywhere on this planet, anywhere on the planet, where we all got our own state? I'm pretty sure there's got to be.
Well, babe, we got black countries, and you got 56 black countries in Africa. So I'm saying in the United States, we don't control not one state of the 50. You got a black governor in Maryland. That's about the closest we become. And then you've had black governors. We've had a black governor of Massachusetts. So we've had black governors, but we've never been the majority. We've never been the majority where we've.
How do you control
the legislature?
A group of people
by having the numbers and by voting. If black people are 40% of the state of Mississippi,
you control a group of people by having them adopt your ways.
What I'm saying, Brother Bay, the system that was set up that we operate under, that system that was taught to W.B. Du Bois, who set up these white set up this dual system, this dual education system, this dual governance. What I'm saying is, until we get from under that system that they set up, that system is based on inferiority, meaning that they're not hanging us from a tree, but you're not equal either. That system is inherently unequal. It will always be unequal.
Of course.
Until we set up our own system of equality, nothing would never change. And we can make the arguments, well, what they're gonna do in Mississippi. It don't have to be Mississippi.
I got a guess here.
It could be Alabama
on the side. You want to make
No.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
She said, I like that guy.
I'm just saying, until we get from under this system that was put in place for us to operate under, things are never going to change.
How long will it take?
The equality index will always show a gap between the black folks and white folks.
How long would it take, Claude?
How long? Well, in the South, it wouldn't take that long. Probably a generation. Maybe
50 years, maybe 75 years.
Put it like this: I think it would take us less because you've already got the nucleus in these southern states. You already got large black populations. You already got many black elected officials.
Medgar Evers went out to start registering people to vote, which is what it's going to take. If you want an elected office, how do you get an elected position?
Well, with majority status come majority status responsibilities. If the state of Mississippi is majority black, then that comes with a certain level of responsibility by those black folks in the state, whether it's Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, North Carolina, or South Carolina. So if you're going to wear big boy britches, you got big boy responsibilities. So if we're the majority,
big boy britches.
If we're the majority in Mississippi, then we got to have majority responsibility. And that means we got to vote and do all the other civic responsibilities
that come with it, right?
that come with it. And
But
our
we're
leadership.
the same sheet of music. I could run with us having our own state as well, but I know I wouldn't be living
Because the only way we're going to break down this notion of inequality, like I say, this whole system was based on the premise that there are good white people out there, and they set up a system because they loved us. They never loved us.
Right.
They never thought us equal. Right. They just not the kind of, they're just the Gentile, professional white folks that don't hang black folks. They wasn't part of that crowd.
They're not using ropes anymore.
Right, but they set up this system. And this system is based on the fact that we're inferior. And that's why we have a dual system. If it wasn't based on,
like you said earlier, we make that system work.
Well,
we make it work
because we've got comfortable with it. We've got comfortable. We've got comfortable with the black colleges. We've gotten comfortable with the National Baptist Convention and all the black structure that they set up.
This is the last thing we're going to talk about. I want to ask you one more question. Conventions. When you go to the convention, you got the biggest conglomeration of black people in one place. Why do they not come up with strategies and start talking about things like us?
Well, I mean, Charles Blow, he's at the end. He's at these conventions with his book. I mean, in order to change society, you gotta give society something to latch on to change. That's why people write books. The problem that we have in the black community, the only people that write the books are the purveyors of racism, because it's big business. So if you write a book about racism, you're gonna earn a living, make money, and all this stuff. That ain't new idea. Racism ain't a new idea. Racism ain't a new concept, but it sells. And we buy them. I mean, you got people writing books about racism, they never experienced racism.
They ain't got nothing to do with it.
You go out and write the books. Because it's business. It's a business.
But people write about the Civil War, and they didn't fight in the Civil War.
Now, my point is, there are people. If you want to change something, you got to put that idea out in the public space, and then you got to help educate people about that idea. That's the whole thing they did. I mean, the people, the racists behind this dual system, the racists didn't set it up. Black folks set it up. Right. But racists provided it. But racists,
we hear Claude.
But racists provided the funding.
So with that, let's go ahead and can you do like a 2-3 minute close?
Well, let me just close by saying that as a people, we probably have a stake in this country more than any other group that comes here. I think we just got to understand what that stake is and what we need to do to be a part of this country. It is a great country. I think it is a great country. The quality of life here, the opportunities here are probably better than anywhere else in the world, to be honest with you. The technology, the quality of life. So why can't we be part of that mainstream? I mean, right there in the South, you've got people that still are living in places like Alabama and the Black Belt who don't have drainage systems, don't have clean drinking water, live next to garbage dumps. If Black people were in charge, you think that would still be going on? You think that we would allow that? So we have an opportunity through this show to educate people about new ideas, new concepts, and get people to start thinking critically about the direction that they want to go in the future. Because racism,
nudging people in the right direction.
Well, putting an idea out there on the table so people can pick it up and start talking about it. That's how ideas spread. But you got to put the idea out there, and that's why I hope I take advantage of this show and do that, to get people to start thinking critically about new ideas and new concepts, and let's try something new. I mean,
because the same old ain't working.
And like I said, we didn't set the system up. Somebody else set it up for us, and we've been operating underneath it and expecting something to change or be better. And when we look at when we look at mental health, when we look at every aspect of life, how come Black folks are still at the bottom if that system is so good? Go look at the Urban League's Equality Index. We're last as compared to whites, but we're last as compared to Hispanics and Asians and Native Indians. I mean, India, people from India. We're last. How can that be?
And we've been here the longest.
And we've been here the longest. So hopefully we allow people to hear these ideas, whether they agree with us or not, and to give some thought to these ideas. And because every decision we make in this country, to move back to Mississippi or to move back to Alabama is going to be an individual decision. But people have to see the opportunity and see the potential. But part of the reason is our education system is so inadequate. We don't have a lot of people out there thinking critically. That's why I'm right here in Texas. We got an election, and people are using the image of the Edmund Pettus Bridge and telling people they're coming to take your vote away if they don't vote. That's all we got. Race sells, and we're peddling it. This is almost 60 years later. And that's the reason we're telling people to go vote. Because it works. Racism works. And we know how to use it as well as anybody else. That's my thoughts.
Well, there you have it, brothers and sisters. That's Mr. Claude Foster propagating us all to move back to one of the southern states. And I think he's on to something here. And I think we, as Black people in America, should take that under consideration and definitely put it as a priority if you can afford to do that.
And if
you know, by Mr.
information, go out and get Mr. Charles Blow's book, The Devil That You Know. It's an easy read. It's not.
He speaks about it, right?
Huh?
He speaks about.
He speaks about it. He gives a little bit more historical context.
But we got to get the majority in some state. I don't know what state it's going to be, but we need to get the majority in the state, and we need to take over that government of that state. But this is the Black News Network, BNN 247. You can find us on YouTube at BNN 247, on Instagram, on most of the social media platforms, even Facebook. But my name is War Smith Bay. I'm your host, along with Mr. Claude Foster. Our other host is not here, and we will be seeing you in the very near future. Thank you so much for participating, and we will see you soon.